Proverbs 21:30, and it says, "No human wisdom or understanding or plan can stand against the Lord."
עד סוף כל סרטון. כי הדבר הכי חשוב זה לקראת הסוף, האמצע עד הסוף. ושוב אני אומר, מי שלא משתף הוא לא נותן מידע ליקירים שלו, זה הפסד ענק, זה הפסד ענק, אנשים. כי אותם אנשים שלא שמעו אותי, אתם לא מבינים, הם ירצו כל כך לשמוע אותי שאני לא אפתח לי את הפה בכלל. אני אתן להם לסבול, לכל היקירים שלכם, וגם לכם כמובן. הדברים שאני אומר במשך 9 שנים הם הדברים הכי קדושים כמו בתורה. ממש קדושים כמו בתורה. אני אסביר את זה ביום שאני אגיע לתקשורת, לטלוויזיה.
But we have a God who's sovereign over that. We know a God who actually had a brilliant game plan to defeat that in front of our face and give us evidence of that. And now we get to stand in that same authority in the way we live our day-to-day life. One of my favorite verses to bring up is Ephesians 6:12, and it says, "For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places." So a few words stuck out to me in this verse: authorities, mighty powers, all in this dark world. But if God is sovereign even over that, that's really great news for you and I, because our fight, the fight we have to fight, has already been won, and God is sovereign over it, and we're on his team. I don't know about you, but this verse actually brings me comfort, because one of my biggest fears and struggles is, God, what if I mess up your plan? God, what if I do it wrong? What if I fail you? What if I'm not walking the way you want me to walk? And it's such a good reminder that God is sovereign over everything, even our mistakes. He uses our mistakes to keep us rerouted, to help coach us, train our heart, give us the character necessary for where we're going in the long run, where we'll have character to make the right choice, and we'll have better decision making. We're going to be able to listen to wisdom better down the line because of our past mistakes. It kind of reminds me of Pharaoh when the Israelites were held captive in Egypt and were a slave to the Egyptians. God hardened Pharaoh's heart because he knew the condition of it already. And he was able to actually change what was happening in Pharaoh to make God's plan come to pass. The thing about God is he's a professional at changing hearts. This is his best line of work, transforming hearts. And his goal is to help people look like his heart, which is love, the definition of love. And if he can harden a heart, because it makes his plan come to pass, then he can unharden any heart too. I think something worth noting is, you might be like, well, why would God harden a heart? Why would he want that for anyone? Something we have to hold tightly when we walk with God is that we might not have all the understanding, and God knows everything. He knows way more than we do. And when I think about that situation, Pharaoh did not have a heart that was after God's heart. God knew the condition of his heart, so he probably saw long term that he wasn't going to try to be obedient or change his mind. We have to remember who God is. God's heart, he is a just God. He is a God that always allows repentance and redemption and restoration. His heart is for his people to have freedom and to be close to him. And so we have to remember that about God's character when we read stuff that doesn't make sense. Another thing that just comes to mind when I'm reading this verse: no human wisdom or understanding or plan can stand against the Lord. Human understanding. Our understanding is flawed by nature. This is why Jesus had to come. Because when we rely on our understanding, what happens? Our nature from birth is selfish, is us focused, isn't loving our neighbor well, causes us to fall into sin easily, and harm people and harm ourselves. So if that is our go-to nature from birth, when we rely on our understanding and our plans, that's the bucket it's going to fall into. That's what's going to be leading us, this selfish nature, a nature that doesn't always lead with love, that has impure motives. So that's our original nature, and we have to remember God's original nature which one is wisdom there? If ours is selfish and doesn't choose love first, and God's nature is love, is the definition of love, then that's the one we should be running to, and that's the one we should be putting all of our trust in. I mean, it just makes me think about all of the things that happened in the Old Testament. So many crazy stories where God was sovereign over it, where it looked impossible, but God parted the Red Sea, where it looked impossible, but God had water flow from a rock, but God would show up in a burning bush, where it looked impossible, but God defeated Goliath. God gave David all of the tools necessary to defeat the biggest giant in their life at the time. And he does the same thing today. He's the same God today. But the difference is you and I get to have him actually living in our heart, which means we get to get transformed by this love every single day and get to follow this plan that is sovereign and this God that is sovereign every single day. I think this is a good verse to remember when we're feeling like the enemy might be winning in our life, or I'm scared that I'm not doing this right, or what if evil is just leading my life and I'm falling away and doing it wrong. No human understanding or plan or wisdom can detour God's plan, can ruin God's plan. I think this also has to do with the fact that we can't outsmart God. We can't weasel our way to get what we want. God knows and sees everything, is in control of everything. And we harvest what we plant. And he knows all of our motives. He knows exactly what's in our heart. And from that flows the way we live our life. So this is why living 1 foot in, 1 foot out doesn't work. Because God is sovereign over it all, and he sees everything that's happening. Nothing can be hidden from God. I mean, it also makes me think of Jonah getting swallowed by a whale. He was rebelling and didn't want to listen to God, and God said, all right, let's go into the whale because you're gonna do what I need you to do. And God intervened because God is sovereign, and God's plan always comes to pass, no matter how defiant or stubborn we can be. It also makes me think about Moses. When God called Moses to do what Moses needed to do, he fought back like 3 or 4 times saying, God, choose anyone else but me. I'm not qualified. I don't know how to speak well. I stutter. Choose someone else. And God said, no, it's you. No, it's you. I am enough to suffice what I need you to do. All of your weaknesses actually give me more glory. So do what I'm calling you to do, because it won't be in your strength. It'll be in his. If you and I are simply fearing God and putting him first, that's the beginning of wisdom. The rest is in God's hands, and we get to trust that because God's sovereign and he has the final say, and he's the one moving all the pieces and helping us follow his lead. And then we get to rest because he is the one that's going to fight all of our battles. He is the one that's going to continue to win the war that we're in because he already won it. It reminds me of that song, There's no one like the Lord. Okay?